Welcome to round 6 of the BiS Indycar Championship. The 2025 season is entering its final furious stretch. With 8 different winners across 9 races, this title fight is wide open. The only repeat winner so far, Shane Larson, sits atop of the standings, but his lead is anything but safe. Goodrich and Hardman round out the top 3, proving that in a season this competitive, consistency is just as powerful as raw speed. Now, with just 3 races to go and drop rounds applied, the standings are primed for a shake-up. Some drivers lose valuable points, but carry insurance in the form of consistent finishes. Others, who've already endured tough weekends, keep more points, but have nothing left to fall back on. The pressure is mounting. Will the leaders hold firm, or will a dark horse surge in the final rounds and steal the spotlight? The championship is still up for grabs, and round 6 starts now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daniel Zippy Salmon, and joining me in the booth today is going to be Reese, the Southpaw Racer Gardener, and at the production controls, Mr. Christian Hill. Well, I've got to say, Reese, it's good to be back here. It certainly seems like it's been a bit of a while here since we came back to not just BIS, but to Detroit, ladies and gentlemen. Not Portland, to Detroit, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, definitely one of the street circuits. It's not one of the most forgiving circuits out there, Reese.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I've already spent a whole week commentating V8 supercar races at this track, so I'm very familiar with it now for this year, and every time it comes around, it's an absolute adventure. I just hope that we see most of the drivers get to the finish here because it is an incredibly brutal track. Nonetheless, I am looking forward to it. We've got 2 races on the cards for tonight, and as you said, the championship is starting to build up.
Definitely, it's certainly Shane Larson, I don't think, can make it tonight as well. But while we're speaking about the track, why don't we take a very quick look at that track map, ladies and gentlemen? Take a quick look, and I believe Reese has got a bit of information about Detroit.
We certainly have. Welcome to Detroit's Belle Isle. Tight, bumpy, and brutally beautiful. This temporary street circuit winds through a park, but make no mistake, there's nothing relaxing about it. At just over 2.3 miles with 14 turns, Belle Isle demands precision, patience, and nerves of steel. The walls are close, the surface is unpredictable, and there's nowhere to hide. It starts fast through 1 and 2, hard braking into turn 3, then the rhythm breaks as you fight the car through the twisty technical middle sector. There's little flow, mostly survival. Every lap is a fight to keep the car balanced over curbs, over bumps, and away from the barriers. It's a circuit of contrast. Long straights dare you to send it under braking, but the wrong angle or an ounce too deep and you're in the wall or into someone else. The track surface changes corner to corner. Grip is inconsistent. Vision is limited. Mistakes multiply. Now layer on 2 30-minute sprints of that. Tire wear, traffic, fuel load, and push-to-pass strategy, all while adjusting in-car tools to chase balance lap after lap. Belle Isle doesn't reward bravery, it punishes imperfection. The driver who wins here won't just be fast, they'll be smart, adaptable, and absolutely fearless. Who has what it takes? That is the big question. And there's also the question of the title sponsor of this series. Let's thank them very quickly. Secure your secrets with Doppler. Developers, stop storing API keys and credentials in plain text. Doppler is the ultimate secrets manager, built to keep your environment variables safe, organized, and always in sync across every team and every environment. With Doppler, you can manage secrets effortlessly, sync across locals, staging, and production, eliminate ENV file chaos, and integrate seamlessly with AWS, Vercel, GitHub, and more. Join thousands of teams securing their workflows with Doppler. Start for free at Doppler.com today. Doppler, the secret ops platform developers trust. Well, Zippy, I think there's a few more races to go in this championship. Why don't we check out where we've been and where we're going?
Absolutely. So we did indeed start at Sebring, definitely one on my favourites list, following on to Long Beach before heading to the BIS home track of Mosport. We then headed to Barber, again another very challenging track, albeit in Alabama, with the big event of the season, the only oval event we do here on BIS, the Indy 500, with a debut driver actually stealing the win before we head over to Detroit for today. Another 2 rounds left after that, ladies and gentlemen. We head to Road America for round 7. And the final race, ladies and gentlemen, heading to a new track here in the iRacing service, Portland. Let's take a look at the event details with Reese.
One of my favorite tracks is Portland. We're going to points first, actually, it seems. So we'll take a look at Shane Larson, still in the lead of the championship with drop rounds already applied, as we have seen. And it seems that, Shane Larson is indeed not present tonight. So this is an opportunity for those behind to really catch up to him. And, the team's championship, Fury Simsport Black, up on top. It's going to be a difficult one here with 40 drivers in the points standings. Not as many as that are here today. So I think we should be seeing a little bit less of carnage than we may expect at Belle Isle. Speaking of, here are the event details. Practice has already been run. Open qualifying is done, and we're getting into the first of our 2 races here tonight. We're going to have 2 races of 30 minutes each, top 15 grid invert, with a warm-up in between them. Well, it's going to be tough here, Zippy, because the drivers are going to need a fuel stop, and of course they have to use both tyre compounds in both races. But let's see who survives.
Definitely, I think survival is going to be a crucial part of it, Reece. Certainly Detroit, the runoff area, well, there isn't one for the most part, ladies and gentlemen. Those walls are pretty firm, they're pretty hard, and certainly not something I would want to bump into. We do have a slightly smaller grid today. Obviously, Detroit, not on their Princess approved list either, you could say, ladies and gentlemen, but certainly a good grid nonetheless, and definitely a good opportunity for the drivers who did indeed attend. Certainly Richard Swindells, he is the king of consistency, you could say, going to be looking to try and score some points today, and definitely got good odds. All you got to do is keep your nose clean. But definitely, let's take a quick look where we head next here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the grid. Jamie LaVey is going to be starting on the front row alongside Radical Canada's very own Clay Morris as we head there to row 2. Ian Pagadala alongside Eric Benson. Row 3, we're going to see Kostek Soloedge alongside Zach Buchanan. Good to have him back as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is one of your BiS Radical Canada Cup champions. As we head a little bit further back, row 4, ladies and gentlemen, Caden Goodrich is going to be alongside Mitch Green. And as we head to the closing of the top 10, ladies and gentlemen, in 9th we've got Clovis Gerard and big organizer and founder Michael Broomhead in 10th.
And we have Richard Swindells is going to start in 11th place alongside Cedric O'Hyan there on row 6. And only 2 more cars taking to the start for this one. Phil Nellers and Rishabh Jain are going to round out our 14 cars taking to the start here today. Oh boy, it's time. They're already rolling away on the back stretch coming up to turn 7, I believe. And, it's going to be a short run to turn 1 from the start. You're blending straight into that high-speed S of turns 1 and 2. But I think the first real choke point of the lap is going to be on the exit of turn 2, Zippy. They run over a little river, and the bridge has a massive bump associated with it. Fortunately, track temperature is reasonably warm, so for drivers who started on the hard tyres, they'll get them warmed up pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Certainly, I think for myself, especially at a street circuit race, I would definitely want that softer compound. And I've got to say, it's quite a divided field, actually. I'd say probably a 50-50 split. Actually, I could count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Almost a 50-50 split, ladies and gentlemen, in going for that softer tyre. Certainly, that is exactly what I would want to do. I'd want to basically try and make the most opportunity as I can at the race start, but that is definitely more in tune with my driving style. I'm pretty aggressive when he comes out of the box. As ladies and gentlemen, we are going green. Jamie LaVey absolutely hammering onto the gas there. As you can see, Barney waving that green flag, and Jamie LaVey heads around, and there's already been an incident. I believe that was Clay Morris, ladies and gentlemen. It was. He's dropped back from P2 all the way back to the back of the field in P12.
And Caden Goodrich has spun out of turn 2 as we see Clay Morris finding his way past. He's got the front left tyre and the rear wing detached. 2 victims already. Fortunately, Goodrich has avoided damage. LaVey continuing to lead the way out of turn 5 into turn 6, and he and Pagadala starting to break away from this pack here. It's a 3-way battle for third between Solvier, Buchanan, and Green. Seems like the Fury Simsport Black cars having an all-right start here today.
Yeah, definitely. You got to keep on to that attrition. Actually, speaking of which, the hard charger right now is actually Michael Broomhead, ladies and gentlemen. The 00 car has managed to move his way up into P6 from P10. Absolutely fantastic stuff. He's rolling on the harder tyre as well, ladies and gentlemen, so that's very interesting to see. Definitely the hard charger of all places you'd expect to see somebody on the softer compound further back in the grid, but I can confirm Clay Morris, we did see the damage. He has got a meatball flag. He's going to need to make a pit stop.
Yeah, he is. It's unfortunate for him as there's the move from Kostek Soloviev trying to get second off Ariane Pagadala. Ariane losing a lot of pace there at the end of that lap, so we'll see if he's able to hold off Kostek here up the inside as they're side by side behind as well. Buchanan and Green. Mitch Green catches the curb and goes for a half spin. You saw him stopped there, and he's going to lose some positions out of that one. Belle Isle already proving its brutality.
On the good side, though, it does look like he managed to avoid contact. I'm looking very closely at that front wing. Certainly, we've seen a couple of the wings become more of a two-piece here recently. The left side, right side, either side could indeed disappear, but it does appear that the car has emerged unscathed. So maybe a little bit of forgiveness there. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering what the purple figure is on the left, we're going to keep that on hold for a minute. It's Kostek Soloviev looking to try and make his way up into P2. Ian Pagadala right ahead in the number 19 car. We know he's pretty potent in the Formula V, or indeed a Formula 1600 perhaps as well. I think he races one of those in real life. Forgive me if I'm misinformed on that one, but definitely a little bit of a faster machine here in the sim, and very much under attack from the 64 car of Soloviev.
Yeah, well, Kostek will try his best here to catch up further. He is one of the drivers that's on the soft tyre for the start here. Same for Jamie LeVay, Mitch Green, Rishabh Jain, and Caden Goodridge. Unfortunately, it looks like we've lost Eric Fenson as Soloviev will trade spots there. No, to get into the wall, and Buchanan's in the wall as well. Jesus, what's going on here? All of them getting into the wall there on this lap. That has granted more positions to Michael Broomhead, who now runs second. Buchanan and Pagadala towing back to the pits. This has been a ridiculous start.
Yeah, we're definitely going to need a replay of that, and maybe a paperback for our director. He's certainly having a little bit of a moment there, trying to digest exactly what just happened. Michael Broomhead probably in a similar scenario as well. All he's got to do is basically bring the car home, another 22 laps. But we'll take a look at that replay as soon as it's geared up. Here we go. Let's take a peek. So it looks like Ian Pagadala had already gone in. He'd locked up going in. Okay, here he is alongside Kostek Soloviev. See exactly what happened. Ian Pagadala's there on the inside. Looks like he's just gone a little bit deep there. Oh, definitely gone a bit deep. Catches the wall. Ends up with the Fury Simsport car very firmly planted in his rear end. And then Buchanan's kind of, he's looking to take that line. And that line no longer exists. Why don't we go cockpit view here from Buchanan in the number 40 car. As we take a quick peek, he can see it happening ahead. And at this point, he's already committed. He's there. He's going on the inside. The car's going to run out. And, just locks up and joins the crowd. Brilliant news there for the hero of Michael Broomhead.
It is. I think what Buchanan did there was he turned in and committed to the corner, but then he jumped right back on the brakes, seeing that Pagadala was stopped on basically the exit trajectory of the corner, and that locked up his front tires, and so he completely lost all of his steering and went straight into the wall. That's far from ideal there. Well, Soloviev back with his teammate Mitch Green going wide at turn 7 to let him through. Another driver who has benefited from the attrition so far is that white car up ahead of them. That's Clovis Girard, who's managed to find his way up from 9th place to 3rd. And Broomhead has lost time ahead of them. He's lost part of his front wing. So no one is escaping the wrath of Belle Isle today. Oh, that's a mechanical black flag for Broomhead.
Yeah, he's definitely managed to pick up a meatball flag. I did see a bit of debris in the track, and I had a suspicion it was our fearless leader, but ladies and gentlemen, I was hoping for a different outcome. I should have known better, ladies and gentlemen. 0-0 catching a little bit of wall there, it would seem, as that got him flying back down through the order. As I say that, he's going to fight to hold on. Still 6 positions gained overall. Perhaps he can try and stay with them if he can stay in the pack. But ladies and gentlemen, your new hard charger is the younger driver, Mr. Clovis Girard for CC Motorsports. And actually, I do believe he is an aspiring race engineer and currently assists in helping Colin Janateus, who you would have seen in the BiS Formula 1600 Championship. He, I believe, is an apprentice race engineer for that car.
Excellent stuff. And this is his opportunity here to show what he can really do, as Mitch Green, recovering on pace, going to go for it up the inside of turn 7 there. And Gerard is one of the drivers who's being more careful out there, feeling the benefit of moving his way up through the field. Very nice view as well. You certainly get a sense for how much the bumps are rocking his arms around. Belle Isle, of course, being a street circuit in Detroit, this very cold part of the United States usually. They use concrete for a lot of the roads around that area. So there's plenty of bumps and seams for you to go on your way through. Broomhead still hasn't come into service mechanical black flag. There he is. He's just gotten into the lane now. He wasn't able to do that last lap because Gerard was making the move on him as they were coming past pit entry. So Broomhead probably getting those repairs done a little later than he'd like. Caden Goodridge joining him in the pits as Gerard runs a little wide through turn 3, and that'll put him under pressure from Sauvier, who makes his way through without much fuss. See, I think Gerard is playing this one really well. He's not the fastest driver out there, but he's keeping it clean.
Yeah, definitely. And you may have heard me have a little bit of a sigh there, a little bit of a gasp. You could see him turn the wheel and the thing just keeps sliding on forwards. At that point, I had a feeling he was heading in the wrong direction, and it was forward, ladies and gentlemen. Sadly, well, I say sadly, definitely not like the band. I can't say I'm a fan of them. Give me Shania Twain any day of the week, ladies and gentlemen. And please don't judge me for that. Certainly, if she wants to play her music on PRP, I would very happily endorse that. Well, saying that don't really impress me much, ladies and gentlemen. Shameless musical pun. It's been a while since we had some of those, as I'm sure our director is pretty much face palming at this point. But, ladies and gentlemen, the 827 at Clovis Gerard doing very well right now, up 5 spots, but he is no longer the hard charger. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to 5th place, the number 36 of Cedric O'Hyan, real-world radical racing driver for Lima Racing, and indeed, I am very proud to say that we have a Pit Road Productions logo and indeed BiS on that race car. Fantastic stuff.
That's magnificent. I saw those photos of the Lima Racing crew in the real world running these logos on their radicals. That is fantastic to see. And Ohio's certainly been playing this one smartly as well, starting all the way back in 12th and up to 5th place. Keep our eyes on Gerard, though, because you can see catching up to him behind is potentially... I think that actually might be Ariane Pagadala, who's come out of the pits after a 2-minute tow. We also see Caden Goodridge finding his way into the pits, and we'll make our way through a bit further. I've just completely lost my JRT, so I'm going to be going straight off iRacing for the rest of this particular race. Meanwhile, Jamie LeVay continuing to lead by 11 seconds, and things are looking good for Jamie at the moment. Once again, he's one of those drivers who, he has pace, but he's not executing all of it here, just because this track, especially when the tyres are cold, is so difficult to deal with.
Definitely, you do have to be so careful with cold tyres, certainly. And it's going to be getting interesting actually for the GT3s. Don't get me wrong, we don't run a GT3 series here in BiS, but certainly these tyre updates have been absolutely huge. And I've been looking forward to it. As actually speaking of Jamie LeVay, he currently holds the fastest lap. Now, I did start trying to explain it earlier. We just saw Richie Swindell. You would have seen almost like a purple arrow, like a hashtagging. Maybe not the right word, ladies and gentlemen. There you go, Iron Pagadala just on it. If you're wondering what that is at home, ladies and gentlemen, that means they are using the push to pass, ladies and gentlemen. It gives them a little bit of, I believe it's a 50 horsepower boost, and they only have so much time that they can use that. So if you do see that, that basically means a driver is absolutely putting the pedal to the metal and trying to get the most performance they can possible out of these machines.
Yeah, you only get 200 seconds worth of that extra power to use through the race, though, so you need to be careful about when you use it. We have that display there. See the numbers, P2P in that column. That's how many seconds everyone has left. Jamie LeVay hasn't used any of it yet, and quite honestly, he doesn't need to. He's so far ahead now that all he needs to do is just bring it home. Maybe at some point he'll have to use it to defend, or maybe try and take the fastest lap, but even then, he doesn't need to do that. He currently holds the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that is definitely indeed very good news. Certainly, that's exactly what you want, ladies and gentlemen. As Reese, I think I've just managed to sort out some timing for you. Take a look here in that chat. If that helps you, by all means, first time I've ever done it. See if it helps you. Certainly a little bit of a lesson there for me as well. But ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look a bit through the rest of the field as well. Let's try and get some of these other drivers on right now. The field actually getting rather spread out, so let's give a couple of mentions here to a couple of drivers that we maybe don't get to see too much on the screen. I'm going to say, let's start with the number 16 car. A little bit biased, I might admit, but ladies and gentlemen, Richard Swindell is one of the PRP's I say newer commentators. He's been doing it a little bit while now. We have indeed got a couple more that we've picked up. But ladies and gentlemen, he is currently up 5 positions and will be absolutely over the moon to be currently running in 6th place in one of these BiS races.
Yes, I mean the attrition and the incidents have been such that we only have 7 cars on the lead lap and 11 cars still running. I'm really surprised seeing, you know, Goodridge, Buchanan, and Fenson out of this one. 3 of the paciest looking drivers that we saw here today, and they will get no points from the first race of the night. On the other side of the coin, it's a big points day potentially for Swindells, for Broomhead, for Girard, O'Hyan, etc. They've in previous rounds been missing out on those big points. Soviet check back in for 3rd place, currently running low 1 minute 16s, not quite able to get to the pace of his teammate up ahead of him, but got to remember those soft tyres are starting to reach the end of their prime phase here. We're about to complete 10 laps. We have completed 10 laps of this race for our leader. So pretty soon we should expect those pit stops to come.
Very much so. Don't get me wrong, you could be miles ahead, but if that tyre falls off and you just happen to get a little bit carried away going through some of these corners, and it could indeed be over very quickly, as we did see earlier. A 3-car pile-up almost in one corner in particular. And I've got to say, seeing a 27-second lead in a race here at BiS is pretty much unheard of, especially in the IndyCar Championship. Jamie LeVay very much able to capitalise on the opportunities he's been presented with today.
Yes, indeed. Potential big points day for Jamie LeVay, especially if he can hold on in race 2. Just watching these drivers go around, you really get a sense for how difficult the circuit is, as into the pits comes Swindells in our Pit Road Productions livery. It looks like he lost a bit of his front wing as well. Well, convenient time for that. Take his pit stop and he'll switch over to the alternate tyre, which at Belle Isle has a green wall, not a red one. So yeah, you gotta keep an eye out for that. It's part of the branding deals and such for IndyCar, I believe, at Long Beach and at Detroit. The usually red-walled softer tires are in fact green-walled.
Definitely a little bit confusing in some ways. Ladies and gentlemen, I was actually just mentioning that we could do with having a graphic we could put at bottom right or something, or bottom left even, perhaps, to try and keep it a little bit of a reminder here for these tires. But honestly, what we got right there makes it a little bit simpler. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not sure about alternates, hard, soft, and that, we've got the softer compound on right now, and that certainly makes it a little bit more simple for me, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing it for Formula 1, don't get me wrong. IndyCar, Formula 1, not the best of friends, I get it, but soft, intermediate, hard, gravy. That's just, mate, they say the old acronym, KISS, keep it simple, sunny.
Silly.
Let's go with that. Yeah, silly, yeah. well, complicated. But I gotta say, definitely, I'm not too familiar about driving the IndyCar myself. It's a little bit of a handful for me, a little bit more performance, a little bit more downforce than I'm used to. But Reese, Detroit, is that would you say that's one of your preferred tracks?
I would say it is. I do enjoy driving around it. I haven't taken an IndyCar around here before, but yeah, all I need to do is watch these guys go around and I get a sense for it. You know, it's a wings and slicks open wheeler. It's got stiff suspension, plenty of power behind the driver, and you know, it doesn't often deal the best with the bumps. there isn't much that you can do in terms of setup either, because this is a fixed setup series. You are able to change brake bias and anti-roll bars on board the car though, I believe, so that will help you out a bit as the race goes on. We are past the halfway point in terms of time, and definitely just past the halfway point in terms of laps as well. So not much time left for drivers to take their pit stops and bring it home from here. Still got Clovis Girard and Cedric O'Hyan running the harder compound tyres as they find their way through. Rishabh Jain here back out in 10th place at the moment, and may very well be able to catch up to Aryan Pagadala, but we'll have to see on that.
It's certainly Rishabh Jain definitely not had the best of luck since joining BiS. Definitely a keen driver, nonetheless. He's definitely been keen to try and make some moves here. And it's definitely going to be, this is going to be one of the rounds where a few drivers are able to really capitalize here on the reduced attendance. Don't get me wrong, very rare for BiS to be under 20, even under 30 drivers, don't get me wrong. Certainly, I know come the fall, we're going to have probably 40, maybe even 50 drivers in the BiS Radical Canada Cup. That's definitely got a little bit of anticipation. I'm already getting people asking me about when does that start up. I want to enter. I've got 2 or 3 drivers lined up for that, and I've got to be honest, they're pretty potent, certainly in comparison to me. One of them actually just started racing this season in real life in an E36 BMW, so certainly a very lucky man on that aspect, as we see the number 35 here of Rishabh Jain making his way into the pits.
Yep, so he'll get his pit stop out of the way to change on over to the softs and potentially give himself a little bit more fuel towards the end. Remember, Rishabh was one of the drivers who had to pit early thanks to crashes, so they, once they came out of the pits, still wouldn't have enough fuel to make it to the end, I believe. So they need to be careful of that, the drivers that have been circulating out there since getting damage repaired. Still got 9.5 laps left for our race leader, Jamie LeVay, as Mitch Green, out of second place, is coming into the lane as we speak. So this is going to be, I think, our first real chance at seeing what the front runners are going to be doing here. Green, Sauvier and LeVay, as I said, they started on the soft compound, changing over to the hards there for Mitch Green, and it's a solid pit stop for him, 9.2 seconds, fuel being put into the car as well to get to the end as he draws out of the pits. That is Phil Nels, who's found his way past, but of course Phil is currently a lap down in 10th place. Rishabh has been in there for quite some time. Seems like there's further issues on board that car. Oh no! Nels and Green have come together at turn 3. Oh dear. Oh, this is the worst. So Phil Nels got on the brakes early, it looks like, for turn 3 to try and let Mitch Green through and go wide. I don't think Mitch was anticipating that. Either that or Green himself was deep into turn 3 on the cold tyres. Maybe he didn't anticipate that those hard tyres would have such little grip coming into the first turn. They crashed, and Mitch Green now has damage.
Yeah, actually both cars, you can see Phil Nels trying to limp that car back home. Let's take a quick look at the replay and see what happened. I've got to be honest, I'm not too familiar here with Detroit. Certainly, I'm not going to make any assumptions on this one when it comes to a braking zone. I'd definitely be out of my depth, or indeed out of the zone. You can see here, yeah, Mitch is going in pretty hot there. Phil's right ahead. He's staying on the racing line. Power to him. Mitch realizes he's braking a little bit late. Tries to just about miss it. Not quite got the space. So, well, I'll say fair play to him. He gets that car up on 2 wheels. Poor Phil gets absolutely boxed into the side of that and ends up with Mitch Green there in the runoff area. But I think I can explain what happened to the number 35 car of Rishabh Jain. Well, it does appear when he pit, he actually had a meatball flag, but did not have his fast repair selected. So what's basically happening is the mechanics are manually repairing that car, and it's absolutely catastrophically had an effect on his race. That pit time in the box, 2 minutes and 39 seconds.
Damn. Well, Mitch Green didn't have that problem as, oh, hello, Caden Goodrich. He's been in there for, actually, that's interesting. I'm seeing that his, yeah, well, his stop time is showing up as like 12 minutes for me. So he did get back out on track after getting his repairs done, but immediately clattered the wall there near the end of his first lap out of the pits, and so close to collecting Caustic Soviet as well, who's currently running in third. Man, Belle Isle, I mean, it always produces an exciting race, but at this point, I think the drivers will be looking forward to seeing the back of it.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I definitely would be. That's there's been a couple of near incidents there, and a couple where you well, I guess it's just been two near, Reese. It's been absolute murder on that aspect, but definitely a very unforgiving track. Certainly, we did mention before we went live into the race that the lack of runoff area could indeed be a factor, to which it's certainly proving to be. Proving to be a potent point, but we see the race leader, ladies and gentlemen, Jamie LeVay in that 444 car. It's going to be a good point haul for him. Certainly, I believe he was competing with Andrew Hartman, if I remember rightly. He'll be very happy to keep hold of these points. As I say that, you see there, is he going to have a little bit of pressure ahead of him? I don't believe so. He had a good generous lead. He's leading by around 27 seconds, but he does indeed have another car ahead. Sounds like you know who it is, Reese.
Yeah, that's Mitch Green, who's still running in sixth. He's actually probably going to fall a lap down here if he can't get the pace up. So, yeah, LeVay still leads as Gerard pits in second place, but Mitch Green with that unscheduled extra visit to pit lane, now almost a lap down on the leader.
Yeah, definitely. It's not very often you see that the race leader's got that much of an advantage here. Certainly, it's not exactly a massive track either. We're only doing like a minute 15, on a lap time. So definitely one of the short tracks. But I gotta say, it's a good thing here for LeVay, as I believe Clovis Gerard. I think everything's happening all right with him. Just been a little bit quiet on my end here, but everything's definitely a bit of a shake-up. Actually, that's our charger right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, set to go behind in the Lima racing car. I do wonder if we can get a picture up of that car. Certainly, it would be good. A little bit of a bump drop here on the director, but I'd certainly love to show the ladies and gentlemen just how beautiful this race car is.
Yeah, the real life radical photographs. I mean, the Lima racing machine is already quite good. In terms of virtual liveries, but yeah, those photographs that they shared in the Discord were certainly fantastic. But Ohio is indeed the hard charger of the field. 7 spots gained. Gerard is up 6. Broomhead up 6 as well. So again, Belle Isle all about surviving. And if you can do that, then the race will indeed come to you. Ohio is fresh out of the pits here on soft tyres. I believe that is Nella's there, who's let him go there at turn 11. And well, he's got about 7.5 seconds ahead to Michael. So we'll see what he can do over the next 5 laps to try and close that gap. But the gaps in general, they just seem a bit too large to overcome at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be starting to push too hard. Don't get me wrong. You can see a couple of drivers really almost grazing the wall. Actually, we've got Abdul Rahman Mahmood. That's definitely a name you're familiar with. Recently, we've been commentating on his racing antics in the series we cover on a Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. But he's certainly hanging out in the chat, and his description is: if you're not hitting the wall, you're not even trying. So I think what we're going to have to do, Abdul, you're going to have to try and run in some of these series, buddy. We certainly would love to see you in there. Ladies and gentlemen, one of these Academy students checking us out in the chat. Definitely good to have them. Good to have some viewers there. We've also got Tryler Bundy there. Another day at the races. As if I wasn't excited before. What an amazing description. As I have to say, it's not often we get a review of our description, ladies and gentlemen, but certainly I'm happy to have it, let alone a positive one as well.
Indeed, Tyler, one of my followers on my Twitch, which is great to see him here. He every time I post about a broadcast I'm doing in my Discord, he always jumps in and says hi. He loves his IndyCar, so we'll see what we can do to bring an entertaining show to come. Still 4 laps to go here. He's on board with Clay Morris. Morris has not found his way back onto the lead lap just yet, but you can see there's a car up ahead of him, just disappearing out of view. Richard Swindell's 2 seconds up the road. So Morris should make short work of catching him here. Was 2 seconds faster than him on the last lap. Now nearly 3 seconds faster on this lap as our race leader has fallen into some drama. Jamie LeVay, he's managed to keep it out of the wall, fortunately, but he did suffer a slide at turn 3 as he wasn't quite sure which way Phil Nels was going to go there. Seems like no one can escape Belle Isle here today. Just a bit too deep at turn 3 for Jamie.
Definitely, when you got that kind of commanding lead, he is leading by about 35, 40 seconds at this point. You really have to start thinking about low risk, high reward, especially in the last closing laps of this race. Yep, there you go. Goes a little bit too deep. You see the front brake rotors there absolutely glowing in mercy, ladies and gentlemen, as he's able to get that car back on the move again.
And very well done to keep it out of the tyre barriers. Jamie recognised very early what was going on there, and he took action to mitigate that. Exactly what you want to see. And with 3 laps remaining when he crosses the line, he will still be leading by 36 seconds. It's going to be quite the dominant victory if he can hold on to this.
Well, I did just see he started using his push to pass. So at this point, he's already got the fastest lap in the bag, but I reckon he's looking to try and see if he can get it a little bit more. He's absolutely smashing that button as he goes down the straight. But ladies and gentlemen, Clay Morris has indeed caught up with Richard Swindells. And I've got to be honest, knowing Swindells, he isn't going to put up much of a fight on this. He realizes the absolute outrageous pace there from the 48 of Clay Morris, and he'll be looking more for survival. Certainly hoping maybe he can try and stay on the back with a 3-second gap. I'm sorry, Richard. I think you're going to need a bit more than a draft to try and hold on to that. But definitely, Richard will indeed be happy to get a P8 and trying to get a couple more points in the bag.
Yeah, he's been on those alternate compound softer tyres for the last 10 laps. He ended up switching quite early from the hards, so not much grip left available in those green-walled softer tyres. Well, the laps, like you say here, are quite short, Zippy. Fastest lap still held by Jamie LeVay at a 1:13.7. Clay Morris just setting a 1:15.9 there on the previous lap. And we only have 2 laps remaining around a circuit that is less than 4 kilometers long. We'll find our way through then to turn 2 and the exit. Swindells being very conservative on the way out. And, well, Zippy, it looks like you've caught up with Richard here.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in with him first before we drag him into the booth. But Richard, certainly a little bit of a lower field today, but knowing yourself, I have a feeling what your tactics been. Maybe you want to share with the broadcast exactly what your plan is here for Detroit Belle Isle.
Yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm not fast, but I last, Zippy. Just trying to survive, and I feel a little bad. I had a little loose incident early on, and I got a little sideways, and Eric Fenson got in the back of me and went upside down. Caused me some wing damage, but I limped it around to the first pit stop, and I'm going to get a top 10 out of it if I don't really mess this up in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, certainly. We did see Clay Morris approaching, and then we saw the lap time difference, and I'm pretty sure he was like, yep, no, I don't want to play with that. He was absolutely hammering that car down to number 48. But Richard, I've got to say, it's good to see you here. Certainly, I think your best position, was it a P4 you managed to get here at BiS, if I remember rightly? I know you will.
Yeah, 4th place at the Indy.
Yeah, that's definitely a happy result indeed. But Richard, we're going to leave you to it. Certainly, you're representing Pit Road Productions as well, and definitely doing a much better job than myself. Wish you the best luck, and maybe we'll chat to you a little bit later.
Thanks a lot.
Well, it is the final lap. Half a lap to go for Jamie LeVay. We're about to give our leader his dues here, Zippy, but yeah, like you said, like you were saying before I very rudely cut you off there, always good to have Richard in the box.
Absolutely, certainly. He's good people, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, you can usually see him on a Tuesday night. We're just about getting ready for another season of that show as well. But definitely, ladies and gentlemen, here's a good idea. Why don't you hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen? Hit subscribe. If you want to see more of me and Reese, I'll be honest, you're not here to see me, you're here to see Reese. I forgive you for that, and if not, it's for the cars, the racing, and the action. But hit the subscribe button, and by all means, help us out with that. Certainly, we'd love to get some more subscribers. As indeed, Jamie LeVay I don't think he could want anything else. He's just managed to get P1 here in the first round of Detroit.
A brilliant victory for Jamie. He's managed to avoid the worst of Belle Isle, though it seems pretty much everyone in the field made at least one mistake here tonight. Crucially, LeVay made the least and was able to keep himself out of the wall there. Swindell's crossing the line for 8th, and then we're going to wait for Ariane Pagadala to find his way across, just behind Kostek Soavier here, who's going to take 2nd place. That is the winning margin for Jamie LeVay, 42.5 seconds. That's frankly insane. Don't forget, the second race is going to have an invert, right? And it's usually the top 15. That means that the entire field is going to be getting inverted for race 2. We're going to have Eric Fenson starting on pole. Get ready for insanity?
No, I got a feeling it's not actually going to be that lucrative because, let's be real, Eric Fenson's pretty potent. Zach Buchanan, we know, is incredibly potent, but I have a feeling, if I remember rightly, himself and, oh dear, Mitch Green. Well, at least he finished the race first, I guess, but I have a feeling that him and Buchanan, I'm sure I've seen them race together and it got a little bit spicy, but that may just be my memory. Certainly, yeah, Goodrich, very potent driver indeed. Actually competing in real life in the FEL series with the Radicals. So definitely, yeah, good to see him not just having success in the real world, but also here at BIS, one of our hard chargers and contenders here in the BIS IndyCar series.
Well, there's your results then for race 1. Jamie LeVay with a 42.5 second gap to Kostek Soavier, and Clovis Girard getting onto the podium after starting in 9th. Brilliant drives from all 3 of them. Michael Broomhead, though he did have to pit for repairs, he avoided the worst of things in the opening laps and gets 4th for his troubles. Cedric O'Hyan gains the most positions in the field, rounding out the top 5. Mitch Green, the last car to finish on the lead lap there with Morris, Swindells and Pagadala 1 lap down. Phil Nellis rounds out the top 10, 4 laps down, and then we have Rishabh Jain also getting to the flag, but 10 laps down on the leader. Retirements for Goodridge, Buchanan and Fenson. Oh boy, so much attrition in this first race. How much are we going to be seeing when we get into race 2? It's going to be quite difficult indeed.
It definitely is. I'm definitely looking forward to the invert grid. Some people hate it, some people love it. Myself, I think it's one of the most fantastic things in the world. But ladies and gentlemen, let's give a huge thanks to our sponsor with this brief commercial message. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And again, a huge thank you to Doppler. We're actually just hearing a little bit of strategy here from the 00 car of Mike Broomhead. Mike, what was it you was trying so desperately to tell us during that ad break?
Oh no, it's just honestly, any stops before lap 8 is going to be fuel save. You don't really want to come down pit lane again. You know, I messed up a few times there. I had to stop early for the meatball. I had 2 laps too short, so you know, safety car fuel setting number 8 was my friend. So I gave up all the time to O'Hyan, and I had 1 lap to go at the end there with 1 lap of fuel. So that's when I could really punch it back again.
Fuel seeming to be a little bit of a factor here at Detroit, but certainly, Mike, definitely a very interesting race. That invert grid, certainly it's a feature here at BIS, but on this occasion, I do believe it may indeed work in your favor a little bit. We'll have to see. Certainly, you know, it worked out very well for Buchanan and the like, but yourself, would you say that you're somebody who can get the most of the pace out of the car at the start, or are you more in it for the long run?
Long run. I have to get into a rhythm. I was trying the hard tires in the first stint there just to get them out of the way. I was always planning to stop early anyway. But just get into the rhythm on the softs. You can make them last the entire fuel stint. So it's not great, but at the same time, you don't lose as much as on the hard. So I may, we'll see how the first lap goes. Obviously, last time it put me towards the front, so it changed my thought process a little bit there. But if I'm towards the back in the first, say, 8 laps or so, I might pit and then go for the long run.
Well, Mike, we will indeed wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you have more driving talent and luck than indeed we can imagine Ray Charles being behind the wheel of an IndyCar. Certainly, it's fair to say he would indeed hit the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't understand that joke, then I'm obviously dating myself a little bit there. I thought nobody else will, but he was one of the musicians from many years ago, and you can see him indeed in the Blues Brothers. Probably actually held the world record for the most expensive car chases for many years. I think Fast and Furious may have beaten it out, but it's not the original, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Reese, moving on while I just head down that trip of nostalgia lane.
Yes, plenty of nostalgia at Belle Isle as well. I mean, it's a track that is actually no longer in use in the real world. Last time racing happened here was 2022, before the real world IndyCar series moved to the street circuit in downtown Detroit. But this place was used since the early 1980s, actually. Been through a few layouts, and I think this one is the better of the two that was used. The original layout of the circuit was actually had a shorter straight out of turn 2 and a bit of a twisty little section coming back through to the exit of turn 5. I do prefer this one. There's a bit more space to make moves, a bit more opportunity for a rest, better overtaking opportunity at turn 3. We'll see how many drivers survive turn 3 here at the start of the second race. Let's go through the grid for this one. Eric Fenson, well, he retired from race 1 and he starts on pole for race 2. Zach Buchanan alongside him in the Project 2, number 40. Caden Goodridge and Rishabh Jain are going to start on the second row here, with Phil Nels starting in 5th. I think this might be one of his best startings of the season, with Ariane Pagadala alongside him. Swindells is going to start 7th alongside Clay Morris, and then we have Mitch Green and Cedric O'Hyan rounding out your top 10, Zippy.
As we have a look at P11, ladies and gentlemen, the 00 car of Mike Broomhead. So my memory was not indeed very good. He's starting near the pack. Sorry, Mike. P12, we've got Clovis Gerard with Kostek Soloway. He's there alongside Jamie LeVay, your race winner from the first round.
So a full field invert here with less than 15 cars present for tonight's racing. And that means we're going to be having those front runners starting from race 1, starting all the way at the back of the grid. But by the same token, as you mentioned, Zippy, we have Fenson, Buchanan, Goodridge starting from the front here. Actually, it looks like, has Rishabh not taken to the start here? Looks like he hasn't. He left the server, I think, in warm-up, so we're going to be having one less starter here. And, well, Fenson versus Buchanan on our front row. Going to be an interesting matchup.
Well, he's missed 100% of the opportunities he didn't take, and starting in P4, I would have been all over that. But what I do notice, Reese, is a few more drivers here leaning more towards the harder compound on this race start. I can see Zach Buchanan, he's running the street compound, Caden Goodridge running the street compound, and then you got to go back to Ian Pagadala and indeed Mitch Green. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Clay Morris, we know he's got incredible pace, but starting on that harder tyre, I do wonder if he's going to struggle a little bit at the start of this race.
I wonder too. We'll find out in just a few moments' time here. Pace car will jump into pit lane, and we'll see how early Fenson decides to go on the start here. Pace car officially in pit lane now, so Fenson can go anytime he likes. He's going to leave it until the apex at the final bend there to get it going, and it's a great start from Fenson. Buchanan already trying to defend there from Goodridge, who's slipping and sliding around on those cold tyres, and he's already spun there out of turn 2. Oh, God, the bump absolutely clobbering him. And it looks like a very narrow escape for Kostek Solovye there as well. Just found a way through.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to check a replay of that, but interesting how things are already shaking up, and it's good news for Clay Morris. I said if you want to watch, ladies and gentlemen, he's made his way up to P4. We know he's got pace. Clovis Gerard, he had a really good turnaround last time. He's up 3 spots, as is Jamie LeVay. He's up 3 spots as well. Unfortunate for Caden Goodrich, very understandably carrying that meatball flag. I believe he has indeed. Now he's still trying to limp it to the pits, ladies and gentlemen. Power to him. He's not going down without a fight. As you see there, Richard Swindell's looking to get into a battle with what I believe is Mitch Green right behind him.
Easy does it here. Phil Nell's, I think, a bit of a cork in the bottle here. And that's going to be a move around the outside for Mitch Green. He gets past Swindell's. Doesn't get past Nell's, though. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay.
Oh my God!
That was Phil Nellis who got into the pit, into the wall there, and he's taken Richard Swindell's with him, unfortunately. And I think Broomhead suffering a lot of damage from that. Goodrich trying to come up on Nels here as he attempts to get the car recovered. Oh dear, massive, massive crashes here on the first lap.
Well, first off, my apologies there to Clovis Gerard. It was a white car. I thought I seen the decal on the side. Let's take a look.
Yeah, it does look like Gerard was involved in this.
So here we are. That's Phil Nels at the front of the pack, and I believe that's Mitch Green looking to make a move up on the inside. So you can see Nels running wide, catches the white tire, well, gets a little bit of understeer. You can see the car bouncing. At this point, he's along for the ride. There's Clovis Gerard, one of those 2 cars.
Oh, there was nowhere for Swindell's to go.
Now, he was brown bread at that point. You can see the blue car. I believe that might be Michael Broomhead looking at the timing screen. I got to say, fair play to them. They almost blocked the entire track. That would indeed be a BiS record.
Yeah. So that's twice now on the first couple of laps. The Caustic Sauvier, who disappears around the wall there, just finds the narrowest margin through a crash. That's pretty insane, honestly. Broomhead has lost his front nose cone. He's in the pits now, and so he'll find his way back there. Looks like some potential issues on the production side here. Struggling to find the relevant cameras. Oh, yeah, okay. So apparently there's some issues behind the scenes that Christian Hill is dealing with. We do apologize for that, but this is Broomhead's view of it all. And, well, he got on the brakes, but couldn't avoid getting into Swindell's there. Some damage for Broomhead, and it looks like he's towed back to pit lane as a result. Well, now we can move to some actual racing here, Zippy, because our top 3 are glued together.
Yeah, they are indeed. As we got a request for the seeing the tyre graphic pop up in the timing tower from Ryan Mazumda. So today, thank you, Christian. There you go. You can see Eric Benson rocking the harder compound tyre at the minute. You can see there that's probably going to be a little bit of a disadvantage for him against Iron Pagadala and indeed Zachary Buchanan. I actually expect him to make his way past these 2 drivers. Nothing against them. Certainly Benson and Pagadala. Very similar I-ratings, actually. All 3 of these guys hovering around the 2400, 2700 I-rating mark. But we do know Buchanan's history here at BiS, and he indeed is a very potent driver. That's what, ladies and gentlemen, that's why he won one of the classes here at the BiS Radical Canada Cup. He has indeed got to drive a real radical race car here at BiS. Certainly, I've got to applaud him for that. Looking forward to having to go myself, actually. But certainly, I do expect him to try and make a few moves. But having not been here through the entire season, he may indeed be outclassed on this occasion.
You've also got to take into account the fact that Belle Isle is a street circuit, and so it's very hard to actually make passes around here. Looking at Pagadala, he is on the soft tyres, Fenson remaining on the hards, but Pagadala is unable to really get up to the back of him like he wants to. He is taking great advantage of those soft tyres on multiple occasions, but he needs to focus on the exits here. Try and get a run down the straight line sections, maybe use some push to pass here. That's going to be the opportunity for Pagadala right there. Fenson slow out of the final corners, and he'll move on through to take the lead coming into turn 1.
Just keeping an eye on Fenson there. He knew that he was brown bread at that point and decided that I would rather survive than try and force the issue, worry about Buchanan behind him. I have a feeling Pagadala may have just been the cork and leash from the bottle, perhaps. Or is this going to be... Oh, no, he's touched the wall. Fenson's just going to give the wall a little bit of a nudge there. I do wonder if he's got away with it. I do spy a little bit of damage to the front wing. I'd say the driver's side, but the left side lays...
Not ideal. No front wing on the left-hand side of the car there for Eric Fenson. So let's see how long he can hold on to this one. Broomhead, of course, mentioned that we will be seeing pit stops from about 8 laps into the race. So yeah, it might be still a little bit too early here for Fenson to find his way into the lane. We'll see if he pulls in here. But man, he's finding it very difficult to keep that grip up. He's going to be losing 3rd place to Clay Morris in very short order. Looks like Clovis Girard has retired from the race as well. That's a big amount of overspeed there that Morris has. Had to back off a little bit and find the way through. Fenson is going to let him go into the braking zone.
Definitely at this point, not only that, I mean, Morris has got a complete car at this point. They're both on the harder compounded tyre. You got to choose your battle. Certainly, Belle Isle, it's a tough track, and these drivers, I mean, they've raced each other before. They know they're tough competitors, but I've got to say, Fenson really having a hard time keeping off the wall at the minute. He's just pushing it just that a little bit too hard, and it's starting to really cost him in the event, in the standings.
Yeah, a lot of big costs here today. Every time the drivers go through that section, I hear someone bounce off the wall. It's just super narrow margins at this point. Well, now Mitch Green is going to be the next one to come up on the damaged Eric Fenson. The problem for Fenson is, yeah, it's the, oh God, okay, all right. Well, I think we can say goodbye to Mitch Green, at least in the short term. Fenson just goes into the pits there. It looks like Mitch Green has gotten away with that damage. Yeah, I can still see that the left side of the front wing looks a little bit warped, but I think that could have been a lot worse there for the number 7.
I got a feeling these guys are indeed rolling the dice, and I think the dice may indeed be loaded at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Oh dear. Well, next one to come in is Eric Fenson. He's swapped over to the soft compound, and it looks like he'll have to do a bit of fuel saving to the end here. We have already seen visits to the pits from Goodrich, who of course was out on lap 1. O'Hyan, Swindells, Nels, Broomhead, and of course Girard is still in the pits after having exited the server. Actually, no, he hasn't exited the server just yet, so maybe Zippy's going to have a look for him. Maybe we'll get a chat to him. We'll have to wait and see. For now, Race 1 winner Jamie LeVay is chasing down Mitch Green, as it looks like, Zippy, you've managed to find Clovis. Oh, no.
Well, I did for a second, and then he disappeared. I drag him into the booth, and then he goes, no, I'll rather wait outside the booth. Clovis, definitely an interesting evening for yourself. That incident today in race 2, not really a lot you could do with that. My sympathies there, but it looked like race 1 went a lot better for you.
Yeah, definitely. Really happy with that race 1. It's a really tricky circuit, so my goal was just survive, and that's basically what I did there. Lots of crashes with the faster guys ahead, and just kept it consistent. Good lap times. Pitted as the same lap as the leader. I don't know what happened to Mitch Green, who was in front of me in P3, but after my pit stop, he was behind me, so I got that P3, first podium. Really happy with that.
Yeah, definitely a podium at BiS does indeed take a lot of hard work, but Clovis, refresh my memory, if I remember rightly, you indeed are a engineer for Connor Janateus, who does indeed run it in the BiS F1600 Championship. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that while we've got you here in the booth?
Yeah, so I work alongside Connor and Cole, who are brothers for CC Motorsports, who I represent in BiS. I'm working also alongside Joseph Yang, who used to race here in BiS also. So he's my mentor engineer, and we're doing everything related to the engineering on the 1600, so all the setup, tire pressures, race strategy, and all that stuff. It's really interesting analyzing the data of our drivers, doing everything we can to make them as fast as possible and get them some good results.
Oh, certainly it's good to hear you're involved in not just the sim side, but indeed the real world side as well. But Clovis, hard luck there on that second race. I don't think there was really a lot you can do. You was kind of, all ushered into a funnel of doom at that point. It happens. But Clovis, are we going to see you back for any of the other rounds here at BiS IndyCar Championship, supported by Doppler?
Yeah, if everything goes well, I'm counting on do the 2 remaining races in Road America and Portland. So I'll do my best to be there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 827 car of Clovis Girard. We will wish him the best of luck and hopefully catch up with him at Road America.
Thank you very much. We'll be there.
Looking forward to seeing how Clovis does at Road America there. Shame that he wasn't able to make it to the finish of this second race, but still getting a great result out of this particular round. Well, we're still waiting on pit stops from our top 3 here. Pagadala and Buchanan out in front and doing quite well on those soft tyres. They don't seem to be putting too much pressure on each other. They're running more or less the same lap times as each other. We'll check back through here to Richard Swindells, who's still running a lap down. He's coming up, Eric Fenson coming up on him there. Fenson fresh out of the pit lane. He's on those soft tyres. He's gotten the car repaired. And we'll see if he has any kind of response for Morris Buchanan and Pagadala. But I think the time that he lost there with the damage may be a little too much for a podium.
Certainly, it can be detrimental on your race. As Jamie LeVay, currently the hard charger of the race, ladies and gentlemen. He's up an incredible 8 positions, keeping it clean, which is definitely the way to go when it comes to Detroit. And actually, what's interesting as well, the drivers have pushed the pass available, and it's fair to say a lot of them really not getting into it that heavy. If I have a very quick look here, Jamie LeVay, he's barely touched his, as has a 64 car of Kostet Soloway. Certainly, these 2 drivers saving it for a rainy day. Same with Cedric O'Brien. Phil Nell's actually the most keen to press that button. About half of his use so far.
Okay. I'm still keeping an eye on Pagadala and Buchanan here to see if they're going to be making any moves to pit lane. A bit of a cloud falling over the circuit at the moment. The track temperature is a bit higher than it was in race 1. However, we have a bit more cloud, so potentially that's going to help out the soft tyre runners to sort of manage their temperatures here. The battle for 7th, or 6th rather, between the teammates, Mitch Green and Kostek Solovier. It's been an alright day for Fury Sim Sports, but both drivers have had their fair share of close calls and mishaps. They've only got each other to race against at the moment. The battle between Jamie LeVay and Eric Fenson is another few seconds up the road from this. And for the moment, it looks like Sauvier has the speed, and they make their way past Swindells, put him a lap down, and Green yielding to Sauvier there. It seems like Kostek is having a bit of a better time here, especially considering he started on the hards and switched to the softs. Mitch Green did the opposite. He started soft and is now on the hard tyres. Meanwhile, here's LeVay and Fenson. Zach Buchanan, it looks like, has had an issue. Oh dear, that's a turn 4. Buchanan has lost his nose cone. There's the move, the defense from Eric Fenson, and Buchanan is already towed back to the pit lane. So we'll get a replay to see what happened there. Oh dear, it looks like another coming together with Phil Nels, unfortunately. This is the issue, I think, with, I mean, it's all well and good, going slower to let people by, but you've got to be careful where you do it. It just looks like Buchanan wasn't anticipating Nels going so slow on the racing line.
Certainly incidents can indeed occur. We'll have to take a quick look here at the replay. There's Buchanan, there's Nels, and the closing speed's absolutely insane, and just Buchanan's not expecting it, and straight in the back of Nels.
Yeah. This is the onboard here. Let's not go slow motion for this. We want to see the real-time speed. Yeah. Nels really slowed down hard there. He was anticipating that Buchanan would just go straight to the inside, but Zach was really caught out by that, and I think he'll be none too happy with proceedings from there.
Yeah, definitely. If you do indeed want to concede to a car, parking it on the racing line or slamming on the brakes, I wouldn't say is the best way of doing it. A much better, much safer approach would be to gently lift during a straight section, or just be predictable, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly slamming on the brakes, especially in a car with no brake lights, I wouldn't strongly suggest, as you can see a demonstration there, and both Phil Nels and Buchanan getting a meatball flag for that incident. Certainly, if you're not sure what the meatball flag is at home, ladies and gentlemen, maybe racing isn't your thing, I would love to tell you that they do indeed get a fresh Italian meal served up to them down pit road. That would be fantastic. Certainly, I think it would actually be a pretty good blooper prize, actually, for a race series to have that. But basically, it means that the car has sufficient mechanical damage that it must return to the pit and be repaired, and the stewards must be satisfied with said repair before it can indeed return to the track. It is an immediate hazard.
Come in for a big bowl of Anonna's meatballs. Yeah, unfortunately, it is not like that. Ariane Pagadala, meanwhile, has completed his pit stop in the lead, and it looks like that's the field cleansed. Everyone has come in for a pit stop, and Pagadala will hold on to the lead, but I think the biggest gainer is Clay Morris. He only just pitted, and he's been out there on the soft tyres for a single lap. He's got plenty of pace. Morris benefiting from the carnage that we've seen. LeVay still holding on to 11 places up just behind him, only 2.6 seconds between them. So it's been a good race for Morris and LeVay.
Absolutely, and certainly there were two drivers that I was very much expecting to see some big things from. Clay Morris, absolutely insanely fast driver. As I say that, I could have sworn he just clipped the wall.
Yeah. That happens all the time at Belle Isle, especially for me, commentating from Australia. You often see that cars will look like they're touching the wall when in fact they may not be, or it may just be a minor brush that's been exaggerated somewhat. So it's the general rule I follow at street circuits like this is it's usually okay unless the car gets sideways. That's the point where you're like, okay, here's a real problem. Morris is absolutely flying at the moment. 113.2 there. That's a new fastest lap of the race, and I think potentially new fastest lap between our two races in general. This is going to be an interesting one. Pagadala looking like he's under a lot of pressure here for the lead of the race.
He 100% is under a lot of pressure. Clay Morris, very much not a slouch. Actually, he is I'd say the third highest I-rating driver we do have in the session right now. And to put it into context, he's not quite double, but he's about 1,800 I-rated more. So that's quite a big chunk, considering a lot of people don't reach 1,800 I-rating, ladies and gentlemen. He's that much quicker, in theory. Certainly a very potent driver indeed, but as much as that I-rating would suggest he's going to absolutely obliterate Pagadala, that doesn't mean anything. We know Detroit is a tough track to make passes on. It's a bumpy track as well. You can see at times if you catch on a little bit too much of the curb, if you take the bump just a little bit wrong, you can indeed unsettle the car and have catastrophic effects. As Clay Morris really starting to apply a lot of pressure there, making the 48 just try and get into a space that currently isn't there.
Well, push to pass for Morris. He'll get a bit of extra speed there, but he's not close enough to get the move done at turn 3. They've got another lapped car ahead of them, Caden Goodridge. Now, Caden is on pace with these guys usually. He's way out of position thanks to his problems at the start of the race, and just having completed his pit stop as well too. But well, we'll see if Mr. Morris can get it done on Ariane here into turn 7. It is a place where, oh dear, that's going to do it. Oh, both of them come together. Oh no! And there goes Jamie LeVay picking his way through. He's going to go straight back to the lead. Oh, Eric Fenson just tagging them on his way through. Pagadala is destroyed. He went deep in turn 7, and I've been wondering when that wall jutting out at the exit of the corner would claim its first victim. Well, it's claimed 2 in one go.
Yeah, it's certainly got a bit of buy one, get one free action there. Let's have a look at it from the number 19 car of Iron Pagadala. Just goes, realizes it's got a little bit wrong. Gets a bit of the counter steer on. He's already there. He's already parked. But then where's the hit with Morris then? Let's have a quick look at this from Morris's point of view. He's there. He can see Pagadala starting to slide. Just gets hit, the car slides back, and that's enough to unsettle him.
And there goes Jamie LeVay through. Let's make sure we see LeVay picking his way through here. Yeah, Morris, I think, the rear end of Pagadala's car swung back round. It bounced, and that's what ultimately hit Morris. Such a shame. LeVay, meanwhile, he had a bit of a lock-up himself. He was struggling to get through the corner, but just in time made his way through. And now he's potentially on for a double victory out of this round.
Well, yeah, huge points for our director, getting very excited about such a prospect, but I gotta say that is absolutely huge. Actually, it's the first time we've had a different winner. Well, actually had the same winner here in the BiS Doppler IndyCar Championship this season. So definitely, not only is it going to be a huge points haul, but he's going to set a record here for the season. So certainly a good thing for him. I have a feeling we're going to have to name him Jamie the Seamstress LeVay, because he literally just threaded the needle in that scenario.
Well, we have had a massive falling out of drivers on those previous couple of laps, and that ultimately means that we have how many? 7 cars currently in the pits at the moment, including Rishabh Jain, who did not take to the start. Pagadala has made it back out and is in 6th place. Fortunately, only spending a little bit in pit lane, but he is down quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. This is actually going to be the lowest amount of cars I've ever seen finish a BiS race at this point. Phil Nels, I believe, is still running, so he could actually make his way up to P8 at this point.
I wonder how Zach Buchanan feels about that.
Not impressed would be my vibe. Certainly Zach Buchanan. We love having him here, but definitely he has had a couple of moments where he's been very vocal about any incidents, and I gotta say, I understand. I'm no better myself. Certainly a couple of you guys have heard it when I've gone off on one if I'm racing, and that's why I'm in the commentary break, ladies and gentlemen. But definitely a race of attrition for a few of these drivers. Cedric O'Hyan, if a little bit more luck falls into his way, he could indeed find himself up on the podium at this rate.
All it would take is a mistake from Sauvier or Green, and they would have it done. The issue for O'Hyan is he is, let me just check my deltas here, he is 50 seconds behind Mitch Green at the moment. It would be rather difficult to make up that gap without a crash or a retirement for one of the drivers in the top 3. Of course, LeVay, Sauvier, and Green, or at least LeVay and Sauvier, they both had excellent race 1s. In fact, they're running in the exact same order that they finished race 1. So we'll see what they can do. We'll see what Caden Goodrich can do here as he's caught up to the back of O'Hyan. He is on the push to pass, and he's going to try and go for it here at turn 3.
These guys would have actually shared a track in real life, ladies and gentlemen. Both of these gentlemen running in the real life Radical Series. Certainly good to see him there. And Cedric, I believe he actually runs in the Masters category, which in the nicest possible way means he's a little bit more seasoned than some of these drivers. Caden Goodrich, for example. Still a lot left, a lot of life yet to experience, we'll put it like that. That's a polite way of putting it, ladies and gentlemen. But Cedric O'Hyan, again, a subtle hint to our director. I'm sorry, buddy. I really, really would love to see some pictures of that race car popping up on the broadcast.
Well, he doesn't have the pictures. You're going to have to get them to him somehow. So we'll see what he can come up with, but maybe we'll have to wait for our next broadcast to really show them, because we're only going to have 4 laps remaining for our leader when they cross the line next, and seems like the battles are going a little bit by the wayside here. A slow end to this night of racing. LeVay has been strutting his stuff out the front. He has the fastest lap of the race, and he's been the fastest car on track the last few laps running. Sauvier and Green don't seem to have much of a response for him.
Yeah, certainly. It's definitely a bit more of a spread out field right now. Caden Goodrich potentially getting the last pass we're going to see for the evening, but huge gains there by LeVay. Certainly, he's been able to keep it clean. He's actually used his pass repair. Actually, speaking of which, Caden, no, he hasn't. My apologies. So the top 3, ladies and gentlemen, none of those drivers using their pass repair, and I had a feeling we saw Mitch Green get caught very slightly earlier on that number 7 car. I felt sure he was carrying very minor damage.
Yeah, minor damage. Well, very strange. Just a few minutes remaining. Here comes Sauvier into turn 7. He's one of the drivers who's nailed that every single time. This is one of the corners where you can really find some time if you get it right. Just need to make sure that you don't run into the outside wall, and it's very difficult to make passes actually through turn 11 as well there. That hairpin Sauvier just went through. It's bumpy on the way through, and it might seem wide, but the line through it is actually quite narrow. Well, Sauvier has made it past. 3 laps to go for him. And it's a 15.4 from Kostek. We're going to have to wait a few more seconds for Mitch Green to cross the line, and it's a 15.9 for him. So Caden Goodrich is running faster than Mitch Green at the moment, but he's got 50 seconds to make up, which is frankly insane.
Some very ambitious driving to try and manage that, and even then I don't think that the great Ayrton Senna can catch up 50 seconds in that kind of margin. Don't get me wrong, very talented driver, and that would have been great. Can you imagine actually? Here's a fun discussion point where we've got a little bit of a quiet part in the race. Reese, if you could challenge any driver in real life to race against them on a sim, who would you want to pick?
Oh dear.
Tough one.
Oh god. I honestly don't know, because so many drivers are sim racers now as well. It's going to be a narrow pool to pick from. Can it be anyone from any era?
Yeah. We'll assume that Ayrton Senna had a simulator and it wasn't made of a dial-up phone. And
let's get Fangio on there. Juan Manuel Fangio. Let's load up some 50s F1 cars on a simulator and put him against some of the best sim racers of today. That's what I'd want.
Fair enough. Definitely going a little bit older. The name sounds mildly familiar, but I am not in the same kind of competitive region for you on the motorsports history. Myself, I've got a couple in my mind. Lando Norris hits the top of the charts just because my mum would be absolutely giggling like a little schoolgirl. She's definitely a Lando Norris fan, and he's up there, obviously cheering on McLaren. Obviously, the British manufacturer. Sebastian Vettel popped into mind because I have a feeling he'd roast the living snot out of you the whole time. Fair play. And also Michael Schumacher, because I think he would be quietly confident and kind of fun. But I think it'd be between Vettel and Lando, and I think I would probably go with Lando just because he's a little bit more current, and obviously the Brit supporting the Brit on that occasion.
All right. Well, hopefully find your answers in the YouTube chat very shortly. Well,
Lando, if you're watching, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like, we might actually go time certain here, Zippy. I'm noticing that Jamie LeVay is on lap 24 of a 25-lap race, but there's only 13 seconds left on the race timer. So I think the average pace of this race has gone so far down, we're not actually going to be able to complete all of our laps here.
Well, certainly, let's have a look here at Jamie LeVay. We'll have to see if he is indeed. Well,
here's the last lap.
Just one
There we
more.
go.
That's all he's got to do. One more. And I got a feeling he's still pushing out pretty big there. You saw the back end just starting to slide out there. A little bit of over rotation now, as I say that, pretty well calculated, as indeed the 444 car making his way for the final time through the corners of Detroit.
Yep, just a few more right-handers to go. Hits the apex of the first one, hits the apex of the second one, just taking it easy out on the exit. That's all he needs to do. Jamie LeVay survives Detroit and takes both race wins tonight. What a drive.
Absolutely fantastic drive, and also as well, he did this race with 0 incidents, ladies and gentlemen. Same for Kostek Soloway, who is currently going over in second place as well. Fair play to him, the only drivers that managed to keep a clean sheet on the incident points.
Yeah, for sure. Mitch Green coming home for third place. He's going to be happy with that after how race 1 went. A 6th and a 3rd, still very respectable result, and once again he makes his feelings known through turn 1. Every corner of the car utterly obliterated. Caden Goodridge, meanwhile, he retired from the first race. It looks like he is going to come home for 4th here, in spite of getting a meatball on lap 1 and having to go for the pits. It's been a crazy race here. We have only 4 cars that finished on the lead lap. And as far as drivers go to get to the finish, it looks like, yeah, we only saw 8 of the 12s, 8 of the 14, sorry. So there we go. Goodridge across the line, and that's your race 2.
It's definitely a good potent scenario for a couple of these drivers to score some points. Don't get me wrong, there is going to be some drop weeks involved, but that doesn't mean you want to give your competition, some free candy kind of deal. That's not how that works, ladies and gentlemen. But let's take a quick look at these results. And obviously, the number 444 car, 444 of Jamie LeVay, able to take another win. First time here in the BiS Doppler IndyCar Championship for 2025. Back-to-back wins. Fantastic stuff for him. With Kostek Soloway there in P2. Mitch Green takes P3 with Caden Goodridge making that fantastic recovery into P4. So to go higher in my favorite real-life racing driver in the Radical Series by a long way, ladies and gentlemen. A huge supporter of him. He's there in P5 in the number 36 for Lima Racing. Ian Pagadala takes P6 with Richard Swindells in 7th. Phil Nails manages to sneak his way into 8th with Eric Fenton in 9th, and Clay Morris rounding out your top 10.
Zach Buchanan retiring, unfortunately, due to the coming together with Nels there. Broomhead also retired from the race, and unfortunately, Clovis Girard did too. Only a couple of laps in. Rishabh Jain did not take to the start of race 2, and depending on seeing how things went for everyone else, he may well be glad of that. But regardless, it looks like it is time for our first interview here, and it looks like Jamie LeVay is going to be the first to join us here. Both race wins tonight, Jamie. Obviously, you're going to be absolutely ecstatic with the points haul from tonight, but it didn't come easy. There were a few close calls.
Yeah, that's always the case around this track. The walls are never very far away, so every corner is a close call, really, when you're really on the limit. And yeah, I got fortunate today with some traffic and managed to keep my nose clean. It was a bit of a shame. There was a few guys up front who were all pretty equally paced. Clay, Ariane, they came together in the second race there. They were both looking pretty good for the win, and I managed to get a bit lucky there. But yeah, overall, pretty happy with that. It's a shame not able to make the whole season this year, so not really fighting for the championship. But anyways, good to get out and have a race with the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only a couple of rounds remaining. We go to Road America for the next round of the championship. It's basically the polar opposite of Detroit, wide open, lots of slipstreaming available. So it's going to be a fun one. Plenty of opportunities for you to make moves.
Yeah, absolutely. Road America is probably, I think, one of my favorite tracks on the service. It always creates good racing. It's fun to drive, and those two combos don't always go together. But Road America is one of them, so it'll be a great track for this car. Should make some good action.
Well, incredible luck and talent bringing you to the top here, especially threading your way through 2 crashes in race 2 to take victory. Jamie, is there anyone you want to thank for your performance tonight?
Again, I'll probably thank the wife again for getting the kids down so I can do this and start the race on time. So that's always worth a shout. And yeah, thanks to my teammates through the season and Andrew Hardman and Ben Coley this year who've been holding the fort for races I haven't been at and doing well for the team. So cheers to them too.
All right. Well, Jamie LeVay will go back and celebrate his victory there. It looks like, Zippy, I understand you've caught up to Kostek Soavier, who's managed to grab second in both races.
Kostek, I gotta say, what an absolutely fantastic result. Don't get me wrong, 2 P1s would have been nice, but let's not be greedy now. What an absolutely fantastic haul of points here. How did you feel about Detroit?
Surviving.
Fair.
No
Definitely
worse
fair.
else. Nothing else really.
Well, I've got to say, there's definitely a few close calls. How you managed to escape that incident in race 2 is an incredible demonstration of some very agile driving there. But Kostek, certainly a very challenging set of conditions indeed. How do you feel more about Road America in the next round?
It's going to be better, but it's going to be a bit more carnage. Everybody's going to get closer because that's the nature of just driving around Road America. In the Formula Cars, everybody will be very close. A lot of slipstream, really.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more forgiving as well. But Kostek, do you have a little bit more on that one, or would you like to give a shout out to anybody this evening?
Shout out to Mitch because he haven't quit it like from the race. It was very boring for him. I think he was just in pain looking at it. The P3 is a bit of a reward in the second race for him. So yeah, shout out for him for some driving and patience.
Yeah, definitely. We did see some good team tactics earlier. I believe you ended up having the softer tire, and he let you straight on through. Certainly some good teamwork indeed. But Kostek, we're going to let you go. Congratulations, 2 P2s out of Detroit. I got to say, it may not be your favorite track, but with points like that, it's really hard to complain.
Yeah, I'm going to compete for the championship now, and the team is first. Everything is nice. Yeah, everything is nice now.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Detroit. For the majority, a rough go, but for Fury Sim Sport, thank you very much. We'll do that one again. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 64 car, Kostek Soavier.
Well, looks like that's going to round things out here, Zippy. That's all the drivers we've been able to talk to here today. So, out of Detroit, I think, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of drivers are going to be very happy to see the back of this round. But we go to Road America next time. Oh God, Road America is going to be fantastic, and Portland to end off the season. I love Portland so much. That's going to be an incredible final.
I'll be honest, I haven't driven Portland, and you know how cranky I am at learning a new track. But Road America, yeah, no, I'll drive that one. And I got a feeling, indeed, as Kostek was saying, you know, the draft is going to be very real there. It's quite a high-speed track as well. I have a feeling that there's probably going to be a few incidents. Canada Corner, I know, can certainly be tricky. There's a good story about that, actually. I believe it involves something about people leaving cigarettes or something like that. I'll have to look it up for the next round. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to wait for that one. That's coming up in about 2 weeks' time. But my name has, and I guess always will be, Daniel Zippy Salmon. And joining me on my right, ladies and gentlemen, Reese the Southport Racer Gardner. And in the production controls, Mr. Christian Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Pit Road Productions for the 2025 BiS Doppler IndyCar Championship, and we're going to see you in a few weeks' time.